What's up, guys? We're here for a full season sim again, this time on NHL 17 with the Montreal Canadiens. So let's take a look at him. So they got Pacioretty, Plekanec, Radulov, Gallagher, Galchenyuk, Shaw, Byron, Desharnais, Terry, McCarron, Deneau, and Matteau. Radulov's only 83. That's pretty harsh. I know he's a hell of a sniper, but he's coming in from the KHL. So they don't want to give him that too high rating and, then have people laugh at them. The only thing that can really hurt Montreal is their bottom six here. It looks really weak. And for the Canadiens, the question is, will adding Shaw and Radulov to your top six allow them to carry the load offensively for the rest of your team? Because you do lose PK Subban, which was a hell of a plus on offense compared to Weber, even though Shea Weber's a lot more physical and more responsible in his own end. Then on defense, you get Weber, Yemlin, Markov, Petry, Redmond, and Beaulieu. There's a few other guys that can play instead of Redmond. Let's take a look at him. On D, Barberio might get his shot. But I feel like Montreal's defense is very strong. In the worst case scenario, they're like a top 10 D in my opinion in the NHL. In front of the net, who do they have? They got Carey Price and Al Montoya. Also Mike Condon. So they've got a pretty nice, goaltending trio here. Price being the elite starter. Another big question for the Canadiens is, does he come back 100%? My opinion is it's going to take him a few weeks to get that pace back up. But he might get the chance at the World Cup to get his pace back up if he's their starting goaltender for Team Canada. So it might not be a problem for the Canadiens. But obviously a guy that doesn't play hockey for like a full year in any competitive game comes back a little rusty, but I feel like long term he's gonna be back in full form and as dominant as he used to be. Their scratch, we got Brian Flynn, Sven Andrighetto, and Greg Pateryn. A lot of players that maybe one of these three makes an impact with the Montreal Canadiens next year. We don't know. Flynn was a bottom six guy. Andrighetto was also a bottom six guy. He did get hot a few times in the season. I think he got like 3 points in 3 games at one point, which is not saying much, I know. And then you got Greg Pateryn, who was constantly in and out of the lineup. So maybe they get some bench production this year out of these three guys. So I'm going to sim the full season, guys, and I'll meet back with you guys at the end. Alright, guys, the sim is complete, and Montreal get back in the playoffs. They're going to start against the Capitals. There's a few surprising things on there. The Leafs are in the playoffs, the Buffalo Sabres are in the playoffs, and the Columbus Blue Jackets. All in all, that's all pretty surprising, but Montreal gets there. They finished 42, 33, and 7, even though they started off the season pretty poorly. I think like after 40 games, they were under 500. So they did finish strong and make the playoffs, which is important. So let's go and check in some stats. That's what we're mostly interested in. So I don't think there was any major injuries as I was going through a sim. Pacioretty, I'm going to have to go full career stats here to show off. So he plays 79 games and gets 60 points. Not too bad. Galchenyuk, which is a player we're all hoping is going to have a breakout if you're Montreal Canadiens fans. Well, unfortunately, he only gets 58. Doesn't have that breakout that Habs fans are hoping for. Radulov is up next, and let's go and check him out. He puts up 60 points. If that does happen, I do believe everybody's going to be happy. Close to 60 points, 24 goals, 33 assists. He's done it before. If you look at his stats here, he got 7 points in 9 games, 58 in 81, and 37 in 64. So that's not pretty bad. He's a hell of a player, and I really expect him to have a huge impact on the Montreal Canadiens season. Okay, and the last one we're going to check here before going to Carey Price is Shea Weber. In 82 games, he has 66 points, which is absolutely huge. And Shea Weber, if you're into fantasy hockey, has to be one of these candidates for a huge season. Why? Because there's a huge void on the power play that PK Subban leaves, and probably they're going to turn over a lot of these opportunities that they gave to Subban to Weber. So if he does capitalize on them, like in the game, he could be a huge guy for your fantasy team. Okay, Carey Price's stats. He goes 243 goals against. That's not great. And 920 save percentage. 6 shutouts. That's not exactly Carey Price standards. It is a strong season. And, I wouldn't be surprised to see him have something like that, but I do believe he's going to come back to that form where we used to see him. Don't expect him to be anywhere near that 1.96. That's not something you can keep, doing consistently. But maybe that 2.31 year with 927 and 6 shutouts is a bit, the type of form we could see him in. He did play 74 games, so maybe that affected him poorly since he was getting worked like an absolute workhorse. So let's move on to the playoffs, guys. And just before we start actually simulating the playoffs, I want to remind you, if you want a bunch of crazy cool PS4 stuff, skins, everything, and a bunch of other cool sports gear, link is in the description below to discountsportinggoods.com. We do have the Montreal Canadiens edition for the PS4, and we also have it for the Xbox One, so go check that out. And let's start actually simming the playoffs. So we're going up against Ovechkin and the Caps. I don't like our chances here. I feel like, Ovechkin is so hungry because he keeps on losing in the playoffs. We win 5-0 the first game. That's a hell of a statement. 3-2, we're up 2-0, playing on the road the first 2 games. That's a good sign. We do lose at home the first game. Does Washington tie it up on our home ice? They do. So let's go ahead and sim to game 6, which could be the next, could be an elimination game for us. So what happens in game here was a crucial win in game 5. Let's see what happens in game 6. I'm going to sim the first 2 periods and then take it down a little slower. And we're down, how down are we? We're down 1-2, which isn't so bad. Let's increase the sim speed here. And we're at 15 minutes left. We do need to score a goal. I mean, I'm not really caring about this since it's just a sim. It's not really my team, and I don't like the Montreal Canadiens, but I'd love this to go on as long as it can. So for us to eliminate the Capitals, we need to win this game. Let's just quick sim it, and we do lose 1-0. So let's move on to game 7, which is the final game. And let's see what can happen. Radulov gets injured. That's not a good sign. Definitely not. Radulov's a big part of the Montreal Canadiens. If Montreal does make the playoffs and goes far, Alexander Radulov is going to have a really good year. Okay, first period is fully simmed. We're down. Second period, we're down 3-0. At this point, since it's an NHL sim, I'm just giving up. We lose 3-0. So Montreal would lose in Game 7 of the first round against the Capitals if EA is correct. Is this possible? Very well. It's something that could happen. Montreal making the playoffs, not too great, and having a slow start. It could happen. A lot of new players, so it's going to take some time to get that chemistry. Carey Price coming off a big injury. Takes him some time to get into shape, get his rhythm back. All stuff that's possible. Montreal coming off of a slow start, finishing strong, making the playoffs, needing to go against the powerhouse Capitals, and losing. That is something that is possible. Now, why you should not base all your predictions on this? Pittsburgh aren't even in the playoff picture, and the Maple Leafs plus the Blue Jackets are there. So this is not 100% accurate, but I do feel like Montreal should get into the in the playoffs if Radulov plays like the sim. He produces very well, 60 points, and Weber has a massive year, and Price does give a decent year for Carey Price, which is just elite. So that's about it, guys. I hope you enjoyed this sim, and we're going to be simming a bunch of more seasons, guys. So stay tuned and subscribe.